Lord of the Rings is a sort of favorite cosmos for naming things and cultural references for a lot of far-right and alt-right figures. But he called it Narya, N-A-R-Y-A, which you can remember because it's Aryan, but you move the N to the front, to do with elves and rings from the Lord of the Rings series.
Yes, that's real. As in, it aired on national news like 3-4 days ago. Now, I don't like talking about politics on this channel, but if you come for Lord of the Rings like that, we're gonna talk about it. Rachel Maddow, host of MSNBC, has been covering the Republican National Convention over the last week and recently brought up Lord of the Rings and the fantasy world of Tolkien, citing it as
Lord of the Rings is a sort of favorite cosmos for naming things and cultural references for a lot of far-right and alt-right figures, both in Europe and the United States.
Now, I'm not going to get into politics in this video. I'm not going to comment on the candidates she was commenting on, but I do want to talk about the absurdity and the destructiveness of a statement like this. Lord of the Rings is one of the best-selling book series of all time, like number 4 behind the Bible. And while Tolkien himself was a Catholic, I think the undeniable popularity of the series is a testament to the universality of the story and the storylines which he created. Good versus evil, the hero's journey, the seductive nature of power. These are timeless ideas which we all can appreciate. See, I think that fantasy and fiction in general, but especially fantasy, is the great equalizer. You know, I've spent enough time trying to maturely explain to my 60-year-old relatives that I write books about dragons and knights and magic systems to come to this conclusion. I like fantasy because it transcends all genres. You can write any genre of story as a fantasy story, just with a different kind of world, a more dynamic backdrop, and most importantly, without the preconceived notions we all carry with us. Because it's not our world, per se, the reader is better able to drop their biases and simply analyze and appreciate the window of humanity presented in the given narrative. If art, in this case fiction, is said to hold up a mirror to humanity, then I think fantasy is the clearest kind of glass. Now, it would be obtuse of me to pretend that I don't understand kind of generally, I think, the point that Rachel Maddow is trying to make. Sure, there is a certain tweed-wearing, cigar-smoking guy who says he likes fantasy, but really thinks that Lord of the Rings is the be-all, end-all of fantasy and hasn't really read anything else. Frankly, sometimes I think I'm that guy. I get it, right? Different kinds of people are drawn to different kinds of story, and when generalizing, you can be pretty fairly accurate when guessing like, yeah, hey, this person reads Sarah J. Maas, this person reads Tolkien. The different kinds of fiction, different kinds of fantasy attract different kinds of audiences. But I think the kind of rhetoric that Rachel Maddow takes part in, this kind of angle, it's not an analysis, it's not a simple observation. I think it only makes things worse. It's actively destructive. I mean, come on, to pretend the word Narya is simply a clever, dog-whistly type of way to say Aryan is absurd. Not only was Tolkien famously a linguist and built kind of logical systems and rules around all of the languages used in his fiction. I mean, to my understanding, one of the reasons he wrote the Lord of the Rings books at all is because he had come up with these languages and then kind of started building a narrative around them. But he also literally fought the Nazis. I hear people talk all the time about how our culture and my generation specifically is more polarized than it ever has been. And I think they're right. It is. But when either side mindlessly label things they don't like as extreme, they call it woke or alt-right or neo-Nazi, whatever term you use for whatever side, it doesn't make things any better. When you use somebody naming their company after a ring of power because they're a nerd and they think that's kind of cool as some sort of like secret political sign to show how they're a terrible person, it doesn't make things any better. In fact, it only makes the polarization worse. I mean, why would I listen to the criticisms of the other side? Why would I waste my time when claims like these are being aired on national television as legitimate and logical? I love fantasy. I love Lord of the Rings, and when I sit down to read a book, the whole world fades away. I can safely explore the fascinating nuances of humanity without having to experience them all myself. And I look forward to the day that when someone reads my own work, they can do the same. I mean, that's the power of fiction, of stories, of movies, of storytelling in general. So Rachel Maddow, just stop. Stop creating problems where there are none. Stop generating narratives just for clicks. And seriously, don't mess with fantasy. I just want to have fun and read some fantasy. But as always, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is Lord of the Rings alt-right, far-right, whatever you want to call it? And yeah, look, thank you guys for being patient about the uploads. I had some crazy things go on with my computer and just tons of technical problems, so the video's late and a little short. And as always, no matter what the news says, keep reading, keep writing, and I'll see you all in the next video.